So we are officially live. Now, one of the things you asked me when we were setting up this podcast is you said, are you going to be able to pronounce my name?
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm going to try it, right? Okay, so
Sure.
is it Mohsin Cheema?
Perfect. Oh, you got it. It's a
Can you
perfect
pronounce,
pronunciation.
can you pronounce my name?
It's Amber. Garipe.
Yes.
Perfect.
Garibay. We say
Garibay.
Garibay here, but my ex-husband was or is Mexican, so it's kind of got that Spanish Garibay to it. But most
Garibay.
people here just say Garibay. Do you like my little piece of hair that's just randomly flipping out?
Yeah, it's good. Perfect.
So
That's
you
that's go on.
you live in Pakistan,
Yes, I live in Pakistan at
and
the
this is
moment.
our very first time talking.
Yes, exactly. Because we have been, connected for a while. Because I just remember you from your that rubber roaster. I don't know if you still have it. Yeah,
I
I would
do.
like.
I still have the
What's
rubber
the
rooster.
what's the thing with this rooster? Like you have it for a long time.
Isn't it? It's an amazing marketing tool. You remember me out of all of the billions of people. You remember me because of my rubber chicken,
That's
my
true.
rubber rooster. I actually published my very first book. It's How to Make $10 Million with a Rubber Chicken.
Oh,
So there's a whole long story about it. But I need to release the ebook so that people in other countries can read it because y'all don't have Amazon in Pakistan, do you?
no, we don't. Not at the moment, but they're working to get it.
Working to get it. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I feel good because I use Amazon because we cannot get something delivered here, but definitely we can get delivered to United States. My family lives there, my daughter lives there, so I use Amazon to send her birthday gifts and flowers for my wife. So Amazon is a good thing. I use it, but I just can't receive anything here.
Your wife and you have two children?
I have one daughter,
You
2 year
have one
daughter.
daughter. They
Yeah,
live in New York, correct?
that's correct.
How come they're in New York and you're in Pakistan?
Well, hopefully we will talk about that later on because the corona effects, the post-corona effects, the embassies have been working too slow. The cases have been delayed, so I'm kind of in a waiting line for my immigration visa.
Now, are your wife and daughter from Pakistan originally?
Yeah, they're from Pakistan. There's family, but they just live there because half of my family lives in New York. So it's just that me and we are just in Pakistan at the moment.
New York is an expensive place to live.
I hope that because I've not been there, but yeah, I think so.
Well, it's funny because
But
I
there,
make that statement, but I've actually never been to New York. I hear that it's really expensive, and that might just be New York City. I know the
uh,
cost of living in New York City is astronomical. There's no way in the world I could afford to live there.
oh, all
But
right.
that's just where I'm coming from. I don't know very much about New York, to be honest with you. How long have they been in New York?
My daughter was born there, and my wife been there for like 6 years, 6.5 years.
So your daughter's 6 then?
No, my daughter is 2. My wife is in US for the past 6 years.
Okay, got it. So your
Yeah.
little one is really small and young.
Oh yeah, she's beautiful.
Somebody's trying to call me and I hung up on that. Did you have an arranged marriage or did you have a love marriage?
Well, it was an arranged marriage, but we love a lot.
Did you were you happy about having an arranged marriage because it's culturally normal, or were you kind of nervous about it at first?
Amber, in Pakistan, we have a very strong family system. Even if my family is living in New York, but we follow some culture tradition. And the best thing about our culture is that we have a very strong family system. So if my parents is deciding something for me and they ask, it's not like they are going to impose something on me. So they would ask me, but I would be happy to let my mother choose for me. So I'm fine with that, and mashallah, it's a very good relation, and we've been very happy together. You know, so
Yeah.
it's a
Are you
perfect. I don't.
where are you on the birth order? Are you the oldest child? Are you the middle child? you have siblings?
I am the oldest.
The oldest.
Yeah.
So in your Pakistani family, is the oldest child treated the same as the youngest child, or does it vary? Is it different?
Oh, that's a good question. The older child is considered to be the one who is responsible, because I guess it's same everywhere that the younger one always look towards the oldest one. If I'm going to make some decisions, the way I'm going to live my life, my younger sister, my younger brother, they are definitely going to look toward me that, how's my brother doing? So definitely, you can say that after a father, oldest son or a daughter is a role model. We make a path. So our youngest siblings, they just follow that.
What happens if you have somebody that kind of goes against the cusp, that somebody that's a little bit different? You know what I mean? How does that play out?
It doesn't matter. Everybody has their own life. Everybody makes their own choices, and the family, they just respect it. They accept it. Let's talk about it. When you hear the word Pakistan, what is the first thing that comes in your mind? What do you think about Pakistan? Like what?
Well, it's really evolved and changed for me over the years, and I love that you asked that question, because I have the same question for you in regards to the United States of America. My perception of Pakistan has changed considerably because I have taken the time to talk to people from Pakistan via Facebook Lives and over the years. Do you know Rehan Alawala? Rehan, he has he's a published author. He also has a telecom business based out of Florida. Also, he has business in Pakistan, but he does a lot on Facebook, and he gives away free computers to people. He's trying to I would call him a social entrepreneur. His idea is that he can help with diplomatic relations between Pakistan and the United States by connecting people to have conversations, everyday people. What do you think about that?
That's great. I have a friend. He was from Canada, so I asked him the same question. And the funny thing, he replied, he said, I imagine maybe some Arab guy sitting on a camel going through the deserts. Some people have that image of Pakistan. I guess no, man. We have Lamborghinis and Range Rovers on the roads. We have buildings. We have a perfect life. We go to McDonald's. We watch movies. We hang out. We have exactly the same life. And one more thing that, probably you shouldn't be knowing about that Pakistan, last week, we made a world record. Guess what? We planted like 50,000 trees in 60 seconds. And that was my city. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
What city are you from?
I'm from Gujranwala. It's in Punjab. It's a province, and the city is Gujranwala. So Pakistan is a country. It's not some guys riding a camel in a desert. It's a developing country, but we have emerged. We have developed a lot. We have buildings. We have skyscrapers. We have big houses. We have a perfect life.
So Pakistan, you're going to help me with the history. Pakistan was created by what government? Because basically India and Pakistan were forced apart, correct?
That's correct.
And which government did that? Was that Britain?
Well, we have a leader. He's a national leader. Qaid-e-Azam. His name is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, but we know him as a Qaid-e-Azam. So he was a person. He fought a case during the British rule, and he presented a two-nation theory. That we should have two countries. Hindus and Muslim, we belong to two different. We are from the same region, but we have different culture. We have different religion. So that was the base when Pakistan was created. But we have, bad days. Because it was a new country, we have bad days. But we did good in the bad days. So now we are a developing country, but we have developed a lot.
Bad days is a nice way of putting it, because there was actually genocide that happened when India and Pakistan were split apart.
Exactly. That's what happened. And lost lives were lost, and it's a part of word, because that's what we will talk about when we are going to discuss about Afghanistan. That the generation before us, they did some good, but they had made some blunders, some mistakes, and what those blunders cost, yes, lives at the moment, but they have transferred hatred to us, to the coming generations. That we have enmity with India. Now the next generation, either we are from Pakistan or from India, we don't want war. We just want to live with peace. We don't hate each other. We love cricket. We love movies. So that's what we should transfer to the next generation. That's just that past hate and wars. They should be over now. It should be a changed world.
It should be a changed world. It surprises me that there is so much hatred and evil that continues to plunder our planet.
Exactly.
When you messaged me to say, "Hey, Amber, I'd really love to talk to you on your podcast," I asked you what topic you wanted to talk about. And you said, "Well, something that's borderless." You said, I'd really like to talk about something that applies to the entire world instead of just one region or the United States." And then I suggested, "Well, can we please talk about Afghanistan and the US's withdrawal from Afghanistan?" And then I also wanted to know about how COVID is affecting the economy in Pakistan. And your reply to that was, "Well, everybody's talking about that on the news, and that's political." It's interesting that the one universal truth across the board is that people in the world do not want to talk about politics. Are you one of those people that doesn't like to talk about politics?
Politics, yeah. No, it's not like that. Doesn't want to talk about politics, but I guess I gave a thought about it, and then I thought that it will be a good to talk about Afghanistan, because right now in Pakistan is like the next house to Afghanistan, and everybody is just having eyes on Afghanistan, what's happening. So I thought that yes, I would be able to give you a better scenario that what's happening in Pakistan, what happened, and what exactly do we think about the Afghanistan and the U.S. retreat. So I thought, yeah, that's a good thing to talk about, because a person from Europe or a person from United States, he would be knowing things that he sees on news, on media. But yes, I would be I would be able to present some actual facts based on the ground realities, because I have seen that when this war started since 2001, and I've seen changes in the country. I have seen some government change, some political change. So I guess it's a good thing to talk about, and hopefully I would be able to give some good information about it.
I think that you're going to be able to provide a lot of insight. And I was really excited that you actually said yes, that you'd like to talk about this, because I'm not a politician. I'm just an everyday citizen that just happens to love talking to people. I make jokes that someday I'd love to be the president of the United States, except for I think that would be literally a miserable position. The reason I want to be president is so that I can actually understand what's happening in the world and why there is the conflict and why there is the wars. And in America right now, we're pretty divided on our viewpoints as far as what's going on and why things are happening the way that they're happening. Why do you feel that the United States of America was over there in Afghanistan in the first place, in your opinion? What brought us over there? Was it September 11th specifically?
Yes, that's correct. September 11 was a disaster. It was not an act against the United States. It was an act against humanity. Lives were lost, and that is not acceptable. Whether it's in the United States or in Africa or Afghanistan, taking lives is evil. It's an evil act, and it's not acceptable. So whatever reason the United States had, all right, they have a right to make their choices. But that act that just caused more lives. I believe that the gun never resolved an issue. A conflict never resolves an issue. It's just giving birth to certain more, and that's what the Prime Minister of our country, Imran Khan, you might have heard about it. The Prime Minister, he's been saying that the conflict is not a solution to any problem. I believe it.
So why did we go to Afghanistan? Like, for example, the people on the plane that crashed into the towers, most of those people were from Saudi Arabia. So, like, why is it that the United States are allies with Saudi Arabia and we go in there into Afghanistan? Like, I don't understand that.
Well, there had been some things like the person who was responsible, he was in Afghanistan. He was, operating a terrorist organization, which is a fact,
Who is that
So
person? Was that Osama bin Laden?
that's correct. And he needed to be stopped, Terrorism has no exception. Terrorism has no justification. It's an evil act. And whoever is responsible, they needed to be stopped. And I guess that was the purpose of the United States, to get into the Afghanistan.
To stop terrorism. There are some
That's
critics. There are some critics that argue that the United States involvement overseas actually has caused an increase in terrorism. Have you heard anybody talk like that?
Well, there are different talks. Every person have his own opinion, Amber. Yes, as I told you, that the conflict is not the thing that is going to resolve a matter. Because if you were going to use a gun to resolve a matter, dozens of new conflicts, dozens of new things will evolve from it. Different new problems will evolve for it. So a gun is never a solution for anything.
So can you tell me about the Taliban? What do you know about the Taliban?
To be honest, I guess to be honest, I feel that they're evil. Because revolution, every nation deserves a revolution, and everybody wants a better thing for a nation. But holding a gun and you say that we are going to make a revolution, it's not a revolution. You are forcing something. And in the same thing, the Catherine the Great, she was Empress of Russia. She said that power without a nation confidence is nothing. If you need to govern, if you think that you're eligible to govern a nation, just democracy is the best solution. Just ask the people of this country what they want. They should have a right to vote. So whoever they elect, he should be the one ruling this country or state. But holding a gun is no, I don't accept that. It's evil.
And yet, throughout history, we haven't been able to stop having wars. It seems like it's just one war after the next. I don't have the answers as far as like what's going to solve the problem. One of my question is what's causing the problems in the first place? So why does the Taliban want power? Why is that important to them?
I guess everybody wants power. If a group they think that we hold a gun and we need power to rule people, it has been through centuries. Everybody desired to have power to rule people. It's a lust for power. It's a lust that you want to be in power to govern, to rule. I guess there should be a way, like democracy is the perfect way. Nelson Mandela, he wanted to have a revolution. He wanted to make a change, but he went through a process and he never held a gun. But he's a great leader. That's how the revolutions are made.
What does democracy mean to you?
Democracy means that if 100 people are living, the 100 people should have a right to decide that who they want to follow, who they think is capable to make decisions for us, who they find that this person would be loyal to our interests. That they should have a power to elect that person, to choose that person, and they should follow that person. And that person should be eligible. He should have empathy. He should have a vision, and that's what we call a leader. So that's why every nation deserves and needs a leader.
So in Pakistan, do you vote for your president?
Yeah, this time I voted for the prime minister we have.
Oh, prime minister. It's a prime minister.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
How often is that election held?
It's every 5 years.
Every 5 years?
Yeah.
Now, I suspect that your government has corruption, just like my government has corruption, because with power, unfortunately, that is one of the side effects of power is corruption, and there's problems systemically. What is your biggest fear in regards to the people in power in Pakistan currently?
To be honest, currently we are also Pakistan. When we talk about Pakistan, is actually in a war, and that war is against corruption. You know, you might have heard that our ex-prime minister, he's a three-time prime minister, and he's in London. He's not coming back because the government they want answer for the corruption, so he's not coming back. He's
What was
Mr.
his
Nawaz
name?
Sharif.
What's
Mr.
his,
Nawaz Sharif.
and what did he do?
He was a prime minister for not once, not twice, three times since 1990. He was a prime minister of Pakistan for three times, and he just got into a lot of corruption, you know, and the situations we have been suffering, the Pakistan, definitely it's because of some bad decisions. It's because of plunder of corruptions, and he is responsible for that. So Mr. Khan, he's just he's just scooping up all the corrupt assets, all the persons who have been involved in corruptions in the past decades. And that's the reason that Mr. Nawaz Sharif, he is not in the country. He's not coming back. He's in London because the government of Pakistan right now, they are asking for answers. They are asking for money trials. And when you're corrupt, you don't have any answers, so you choose to just run away.
So has he been granted asylum in London? Are they giving him, protection over there?
Well, yeah, he has some sort of some business visa there because his children live there. They have businesses there, so he's on a business visa or something like that there. But hopefully he has to come back, because his daughter, she is in Pakistan. She is she is the head of his political party. So if they want to survive, the political game, if you just want to be in a power, he has to come back.
Do you think he'll be well received by the majority of people if he does come back?
Well, Amber, the fact is that in a democracy, we have to respect each individual decisions, and definitely Mr. Nawaz Sharif is not left, like without the supporters. There are millions of people who support him. They have their reasons to justify him. That's what the democracy is. So definitely, if he comes back, he has supporters, but I believe that he should face the courts. If there are cases, if he, as he stated that he's innocent, then he should face the courts. He should give his voters, the supporters, to reason to justify that. Yes, if their cases were made, but he should face the courts.
Was his corruption money based, or was it voter fraud? Like, what did he do that was corrupt specifically?
Most of it is money based.
Okay.
Yeah, money based.
Money is the root of all evil. Do you believe that American democracy is strong and true right now? What is Pakistan thinking of American politics currently?
Pakistan and America relations, it's like a college teen love story. There are times when they so get romantic. They exchange gifts. They have confidence. They have trust on each other. Then the times comes when they just don't answer each other calls. So I guess Pakistan and the US have a very strong relation because we have a history, a long history. Pakistan suffered a lot for the sake of United States, because we were allies. We are allies. So, whereas American politics is concerned, I think Mr. Biden, Democrats, I support him. I was one of the person who was praying that this time Biden should be there. I really like that guy.
So you're not a Trumpster.
Well, I like Trump not as a president, but I like him as a person. The way he's a funny man. Because as an entrepreneur, I like his achievement. I like what he achieved. He made a lot of money. So I like him as a person. He's entertaining, but as a president, Mr. Biden I guess he's a better choice.
So what do you think about the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan and how we did it?
It has to be done, Amber. US was there for 2 decades. 20 years. 20 years means a whole new generation. The soldiers who were deployed there, the kids are now possibly going to colleges. So they have to get back. So like Mr. Chuck Hagel, your former US Secretary of Defense, he said, great nations have limitations. All nations have limitations. Even great powers have limitations. So I guess US had its limit. 20 years it's a lot of time. So as they said that they were not there, Mr. Biden just said, I was just watching TV, that we were not there for a nation building. Yeah, I guess he's right. To build a nation it's the Afghan people's choice. It's their job. They have to build their own self. Nobody is coming from outside to build your nation. You have to do it yourself. So US withdrawal, it has to be done, and I guess it's a good decision. The soldiers are back to their houses, but what happened after the withdrawal? That's bizarre, and that's something the whole world needs to think about, and they have to get to a point to resolve this matter, because it will get worse day by day.
It sounds like it's been, so I don't watch the news, just so you know that. I don't watch television unless it's a movie, or you know what I mean, or I watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube, but I don't watch I don't watch the news. I don't watch CNN, I don't watch Fox, any of it. It's a miserable experience, so I tend to avoid it. So most of the news that I get is from reading articles on social media or online, or having conversations with other people. I'm seeing women that are throwing their babies over barbed wire fences in a
that's bizarre.
And I'm
Yes.
hearing about, I'm hearing that, the Taliban is going around knocking on people's doors, trying to find Christians to kill, that kind of thing. In Pakistan, it's mostly Muslim. Is it Muslim or is it Muslim? What's the proper way to pronounce that?
It's Muslim.
Muslim.
Yes, Muslim.
Yeah. But y'all have Christians there as well.
Yes, we do have.
And
Christians.
you have atheists.
Yes, we do have atheists.
Do you feel like Pakistan is a place where you're free to celebrate who you are as a person, spiritually, mentally, etc.?
Yes, that's correct. I believe that, and I witnessed that. Because I'm not going to go into past what happens. Bad things happen all around the world, But right now, it's a free place. I have Christian friends here in Pakistan. They are free to celebrate their occasions. They are living their lives. Even there are Hindus in Pakistan. They are living their lives. When the Pakistan came into existence, Mr. Janam, the Qaeda-e-Azam that I was, the national leader, the first speech he gave after the partition of Indo-Pak and after the creation of Pakistan was that you are free to go into your mosques, you are free to go into your churches, you are free to practice your religion by the way you want. And that is Pakistan for you. So these are the basic grounds that were laid to make Pakistan.
Do you think that Afghanistan is going to be a free nation under the Taliban rule?
I have very much concerns about that. Taliban, as it stated, that holding a gun, you are never going to make, and you're never going to bring peace, and you're never going to develop a nation without confidence of nation. If the Taliban or whatever government, if a government that is elected by the people of Afghanistan, then there is going to be peace. Because if somebody is holding a gun and he just imposes himself on you as a nation, nobody's going to accept that. It's going to be chaos, it's going to be retaliation, and that will ultimately lead into a civil war. And that means destruction. That's evil. Lives will be lost.
It's interesting that you mentioned that nations that rule with a gun or like under fear are kind of doomed to fail, is kind of what I'm hearing from you. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
So China, I don't know a lot about China. Never been to China. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with a Chinese person. So these are questions. These are not statements on my end. But China is a communist country where the people do not get to decide for themselves. That's my understanding of China. But it's also a nation that seems to be, it's very intact. They're not at war currently within themselves. That I know of. Is there a civil war in China? Because I know that there's genocide happening over there.
No,
And
not civil war. I don't think
because
so.
I'm trying to understand, again, I'm trying to understand why these things happen in the world, right? So there are countries that rule with fear and weapons and danger, and there are some that are successful doing things that way. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Well, as I told you, that in past, yes, there might be some countries which were successful by imposing themselves on people. But if I talk about the current situation in the world we are living right now, it's 2021. It's a different world. It's not the same as it was in 1990s or back in decades. It's a different world. People have awareness. People, they basically they know their rights, and everybody wants to live in peace. You know. So
Do you feel
people
like
will.
you feel like you have rights, like to the you? So the reason why I asked that question is one of the topics that we're kind of intertwining into this is COVID and the
Mhm.
vaccine. Um, are y'all vaccinated in Pakistan? Everybody is vaccinated.
Yeah, it's in the process. More than 30 million people have been vaccinated so far, and this number is just rapidly growing each day. And the government have very very interesting strategies to get people vaccinated. And I don't think that any country would be having the same strategies.
New Zealand's strategy, they had one person that got COVID, and they just recently shut down the entire country because that one person has it. So that was an interesting approach. Definitely paying attention to what other people are doing. But one of the frustrations here in America is that not everybody wants to get the vaccine. Some people just don't want to put it in their body. And so then it's like, okay, well, are you really a free person if you can't make that choice for yourself? What do you think about that?
Hmm. Well, COVID, Amber, is a thing that it's not concerned. It's not only limited to if it's you or me. If I'm going to get a COVID, I'm going to affect 10 more people, and those 10 people are going to affect 100 more people. So it's a societal matter. It's a human issue. If it's something that imposed and that's only limited to myself, I think I'm able to make that choice that I don't want to do it. But if my decision could cause harm or could make 10 more people sick, then I guess that's I'm the person who is wrong.
Gotcha. So Afghanistan, I need your help with this because, like I said, I don't know a lot about the big world. How close is Afghanistan to Pakistan?
It's just like the house next door,
So you guys are close to each other. So
very close.
the chaos in Afghanistan definitely could affect Pakistan.
Definitely, and that's the reason that Pakistan is a very very important element in resolving this matter. You know what? We share a border with Afghanistan. It's known as Durand Line, and its length is 2,670 kilometers. That makes like 1,660 miles. It's a long border that we share with Afghanistan. So what happens if a civil war is going to erupt in Afghanistan? Everybody, the first thing they are going to do that they are going to jump into the Pakistan. They
They're
will
gonna
just
what? They're gonna what in Pakistan?
they are going to just rush towards Pakistan
Okay, they're
for
gonna
for,
try to
for
come over there.
refugee. That's correct, and that's what happened in past. Like for the past couple of decades, Pakistan have like over 4 million Afghan refugees. You know, so being a developing nation, Pakistan does not have that stamina, or Pakistan, it cannot afford any more refugees or any more unrest in Afghanistan. So Pakistan is not the only, but Pakistan is the country which most want a peace in Afghanistan, because whatever happens in Afghanistan, it's going to affect Pakistan. It's just like that. If there's a fire in the next house, then my house is the one which is going to be affected, not the house across the street. So Pakistan has a history. Pakistan has learned some lessons, so that's why they want a peaceful solution in Afghanistan, because they don't want any more refugees. They don't want any people to just rushing into the Pakistan. When millions of people are going to get into the Pakistan, you don't know if the 10 people are the evil one. There's no way that you can, just separate those people. So that's the reason Pakistan just want peace in Afghanistan, most of all.
Why do you think that the Afghan army fell so quickly after the United States left?
Well, that's too bad, But that's the question, because U.S. have been spending billions of dollars to just equip and to train those people, and they were supposed to defend their country. They were supposed to defend, their government. But the president of Afghanistan, he was the first person to flee from Pakistan to the country, to just run away, leaving all the people. What about all those people who were supporting him? What about the government? So in this regard, I just mentioned that Nelson Mandela said that real leaders must be ready to sacrifice all for the freedom of their people. But government, if the head of the government choose to run away, all the command chain, it just get broken.
I've thought a lot about that statement, because I've been reading, and it's like he is a coward, and he just got up and left, and he left his people, etc. But I think about the United States, right? If we had a catastrophic incident or bombs coming this way, the very first thing that would happen is the American president would be evacuated to be safe, right? That's what would happen. So does that mean that our president is abandoning us? Is it the same thing if the president is taken somewhere where it's safer? If you were president, would you want to stay in a place that is going to be overrun, or would you, as the leader, be taken somewhere else? You have to protect that queen bee. The head of the house has to be protected at all costs, usually.
That's correct, but definitely the president is not going to abandon the people. He would be transferred to somewhere place where he can command the country still. He will not leave the chain of command. He will not just just leave the country and go to some other country. He's going to be in a safe place where he can command the country. That's the main thing. That's why the president is transferred to a safe place, so that he could still manage and he could keep the balance and he could head the state.
But he didn't do that. He just left.
Yeah, he just left, and that's the real reason of chaos. And when the head of the state is gone, then all the system, all the government system, it just vanished. It's just the chain of command is broken. But that's Afghan, they have like more than 350,000 person in the military, and the number of Taliban is like 75,000 or something. So it's how come they just can take over everything so easily,
I mean, especially so, you mentioned that Pakistan and Afghanistan are allies, correct?
That's correct.
And that it's in the best interest of both countries that the region remain peaceful. So that's the thing that interests me, because one of the things that I can say is before the official big withdrawal, about 3 weeks back, I listened to this show in the morning called Morning Invest. And it's a YouTube channel, and it's specifically about money and investing. But he also talks about some world politics and some of the things that the U.S. government does. And one of the things that he said is that the U.S. just up in the middle of the night got up and left, and we left like millions of dollars of equipment, tanks, guns, weapons. We just left all this really expensive equipment over there and just abandoned our post. Which made me think, like, why would we do that if we know that they're going to be overrun by dangerous terrorists? And I'm saying terrorists because it's a terrorist like that, because like you don't know who's good and who's bad. I don't know what a terrorist is per se. I definitely don't think terrorism is one country. But if you know that the country is going to be overrun by terrorists, why would you leave a bunch of weapons and tanks and things behind for them to use?
Exactly. There's an answer in the question that U.S. military is one of the most powerful, possibly the most powerful militaries in the world. So definitely they are not going to make such what you call some silly decisions. They would have been through a lot of work, a lot of their homework. They would never leave weapons to be used by the people like those, you know. So these are all the talks that that's been done on media, that everybody, okay, the U.S. just got back and they left everything there. No, definitely, I don't agree that. I have watched a bunch of movies. The U.S. Army is not that stupid to do something like that. So
And
definitely they would have.
that's what I thought as well, and so when I'm reading and hearing reports like that, I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't understand this, and if we knew that so I understand 20 years is a long time for the United States to be over there. I also understand that not everybody in the world wants U.S. involvement in global affairs. I don't understand why there wasn't a system put in place. Like, for example, Pakistan is an ally. Pakistan's right next to Afghanistan. Why didn't Pakistan and Afghanistan get together to refortify, and work together? Why couldn't something like that happen if you have mutual interest?
Yeah, that's correct. But that happens when there are governments on both sides. This Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan, he is willing and he wants to follow this thing, that he wants to have a good relationship with Afghanistan, but with who? There's no government. The government collapsed.
But the government collapsed after the U.S. left. I mean, so I'm saying that this could have these plans could have been put into place before the chaos even happened, before the government fell apart, before the U.S. decided to leave. I don't understand why the world leaders didn't come together and say, okay, the United States has been here for a very long time. It's been 20 years now. You should be at a place where you can protect yourself. But just in case, we're going to cook up with the Pakistan over here and this other country over here and our other allies to make sure that when the United States does withdraw, that there isn't chaos and that we maintain what we tried to create in the first place.
That's correct. And in all these 20 years, the U.S. has been doing, I believe that they thought that they have done enough. They have established a government in Afghanistan. They have established a military, and when they will just retreat, they would be able to defend the country and they would be able to run the system. But that didn't happen. Everything just collapsed, and that would be why. Well, that's a question that we should ask the government that was in Afghanistan, because this was not supposed to be happening, because when you have billions of dollars in equipment, when you have a government which has been set up, they were supposed to just keep it maintained, but they were not able to maintain it. And the only reason I get from that is, there could be corruption, from the higher ranks, the Afghan government which was there.
What created the Taliban in the first place? Is it a tribe of people?
Tribe of people, yes. The Taliban. Well, I'm not really have that information, because I can assist you. I can tell you what's the current situation right now. What happened in past? What created? I guess it was some Soviet wars, and there was no rule. The civil war was there, I guess. But I don't want to be misled on that, because I don't have that basic information that how they was created, in the first place. But right now, what concerns me most, Amber, it's not that what happened to the government, why it falls, and that's the thing to be talked on the big tables from the leaders around the world. But what concerns me is those millions of people, the normal people who are left behind, abandoned. You might have seen the videos from the Kabul airport when people were just rushing towards the airplane just to leave the country. There must be a reason that why the people just don't want to be there, because they know that it's going to be bad days coming. And have you seen that video where two Afghan people just fell from a U.S. plane? They were just trying to get into the plane, holding the wheels, and then the plane got into the air and they just fell.
I haven't seen anybody actually falling off, but I have been reading the headlines and seeing little video clips of all of the people crouched trying to hold on to the airplane. And it's, obviously, it's clear that the people in Afghanistan are terrified right now, and it's absolute chaos, and they're trying to flee. And I agree that, they're going to be heading towards Pakistan and the nearest border, trying to get away. What makes my curiosity is the Taliban was in control in Afghanistan previous to the government and previous to the United States becoming involved, correct?
That's correct.
And so part of the reason why I keep going back into history when you're like, hey, I want to stay in the here and now, is trying to understand what created the mess and the monster in the first place. What does the Taliban stand for? And how is the Taliban different from Al-Qaeda? Because those are two very different things and groups of people.
That's correct. You know, in the start of the conversation, when I thought that it's a political, matter, and I don't want to get into political talk, that's because these things are beyond my concerns. I really don't have any concern about that, how this happened. What is my concern? My concern is those million people, those million of children who are left there. I was telling you about the people who just fell from the plane. There were two people who were just trying to get into a plane through that wheels. They have that place in there. They were just trying to get into the plane. And when the plane got into the air, two people just fell down. It's like falling from a 35-story building. So the bizarre thing is the identity of those two people, Amber. One is identified as Fida Ahmed, and the other one is Saki Anwar. They were not just some Stone Age people who were just trying to get away, who had no lives, who had no future. You will be surprised to know that one of the victims who fell from the plane, Fida Ahmed, he was a young doctor. He was practicing in some local hospital. He was married a year ago. And the other person, the other young man who just fell from the plane, he was a national football player of Afghanistan national team.
He was young, that boy.
He was too young. And that's the irony. Like, these are the people who are basically the assets of any nation, the doctors, teachers, the sportsmen. If these people are trying to get away from their lives, how miserable the situation will be there. That justifies the situation. Then how bad it could be that these people, they know that they don't have any future there. So if young doctors, national sportsmen, they are just trying to get away from Afghanistan, they're just losing their lives, then we can imagine that how bad the situation will be. And what about those millions of children? What concerns me most? I have a UNICEF report according for the Afghanistan children. 46% of population in Afghanistan is under 15. 46%.
46% is under the age of 15
That's
Afghanistan?
Correct. In Afghanistan.
Why are there so many young people without parents?
They must be having parents, but that's the UNICEF report I was going through, and I find it very interesting and very disturbing that what about the future of those 46%? It's a great number, 46% are under 15. That means that everything, wherever it happens, children would be involved. The victims would be a lot of children. And 1 in 18 Afghan children fail to reach their first birthday. How bad it is. Like 1 in 18 children in Afghanistan, they fail to reach their first birthday. And more of that is 46% of children have not received their basic vaccinations. 2 in 5 children cannot reach their full mental and physical development. These are the things.
Those statistics are recent.
Yeah, it's a UNICEF report I was going through, earlier. So this is my concern when we talk about Afghanistan. This is my concern. This million of children, this million of people. There are a million of people, Amber, in Afghanistan who just want a normal life, who just want to go to work. They want to come back. They want to kiss their kids, play with their kids, and they just want to live in peace. So my concern and worries is about those millions of people. I have no concern what happens, who get into the power, who did what. But I'm concerned about the people, about the normal, about the casual masses who are going to be affected by these effects. That is my concern.
Do you think that politics affect humanitarian efforts?
Obviously, it does. You might have heard that IMF and all the international institutions which were giving aid to Afghanistan from the past couple of decades, they have closed all the fundings to Afghanistan. Definitely, they would be right. They don't want their money to be used, to build or to make weapons. But that money was not used in this purpose for the past couple of years. They were used to provide shelter, food, medication to the normal people. So if that money is closed, they have justified reasons. But what will happen to all those millions of people who were, getting food with that, who were getting medical help with that?
I smile. I smile when I'm nervous, just so you know. Or if it's just one thing that I do as I spit on myself. So when you're talking about the things that are happening to the Afghan people, one of the things that I immediately think about is what's going on with Syria and how badly the people of Syria have suffered. And then, like Afghanistan is not the only country in the world that is facing horrible atrocities and being victimized. Don't you think most people in the world want what you just described, which is the ability to have food, shelter, safety, family, like a good, honest life? Don't you think most of humanity wants the same thing?
Exactly. Everybody, it's not they want it. If they want it, everybody deserves to have a normal life, you know. And if they're not having it, if their lives have been in chaos, that means that the generations before us, they have made blunders, bad decisions. As I stated in the beginning, that my belief is that the gun never resolved the issue. So wherever there are guns being used, that's what happened. Chaos, destruction.
What do you think the Taliban wants to happen ultimately as a power?
Just greedy for power. It's a power lust. That's it.
What does power get you?
Power gets you. I guess the person who is thirsty or who is hungry for power would be able to describe that. But I don't believe in power. Power. What is power? Humanity is power. The true power is humanity. If you're a human, if you have empathy, you're a powerful person because you're eligible to do good for the other people. Then you're powerful. If you think that you have the ability, or if you stand in a place where you can hurt somebody and you consider yourself to be powerful, that's a blunder. That's so what should be the right word, but that's not a fact. You're living in a fiction life.
So imagine that you are a Taliban person. Imagine that you're.
I would never imagine that.
Well, and this is why, because the Taliban, right? They have families. They're people too, right? They have children. They have mothers, fathers, grandparents. They're people just like we're people, right? Do you think that they want the same type of humanitarian things that most other people want, such as safety, food, respect, culture, prosperity? Do you think the Taliban wants any good things to happen?
A healthy mind, a mind which understands the life in a true way, would never choose a path like this. I guess they have been deluded, they have been forced to make a belief that whatever they believe. But if you believe that anything other than humanity, then you are deluded. You just don't know what the true life is. Humanity is true life. Being alive means if you're a human, if you have sympathy, if you have empathy, then you're a human. If you wish to do evil things to gain your whatever your wishes or desires, then you're deluded.
So Pakistan and India, are they allies now or not allies?
No, and I don't see that happening in coming few years now. Mr. Han, the reason I voted for this person, I like his stance for all the matters. Not just one reason that I just got out of the house to just vote for the person. The first day he got into the office, he's talking about peace. He have been calling the Indian Prime Minister, let's come to the table, let's talk. That's the solution, and that is the only way. Whether it happens today or it happens, after a couple of years or a couple of decades, or even if it has to be wars. But this is the only solution now. You have to talk. You have to get on a table. You have to resolve your issues. You know, if you think that holding a gun you would be able to resolve a matter, that's a lie.
Do you think so? You said you don't think that India and Pakistan are going to become allies anytime soon. Do you think that India is evil like the Taliban is evil?
Amber, when you talk about India, you're not talking about the government which is ruling India. We are talking about a billion people. You know,
Yes.
so if I will say India is evil, that would be so unfair. You know, in 1 billion people, they would be more than, you know. You never say that. Just there's a small group of people, you know, who are thirsty, who are hunger for power. They are the people responsible for these evil acts. They are the people responsible for hatred. A common man would never want a war. A common man would never have to hate the person who is not seen. I have not seen a person. I have not seen a Karan who is living in Mumbai. Why would I hate him for? You know, and that's not me. That's just the mindset of millions and millions of people across this side and across that side too. A normal person, normal people will always want peace. But those a number who seek power, who have their political agenda, they are the root cause for all the problems. And all the only problem is hatred, you know.
What do you think causes hatred in the first place?
Uh, it could be possibly some political gains, you know. In India, there's a thing that the government which is there right now, if you will talk about, you know, hitting Pakistan, if you will bash Pakistan, if you are going to talk about, you know, we will do this, then you're going to gain more weight, more votes, you know. You are going to be in power.
So hate is actually applauded on some regard.
That's correct.
And one of the things that you said is that you feel like most people, everyday people, are good inherently. Most people in the world are good people, and typically the people that are not are usually the ones that are in power. Do you agree with that statement?
That's correct.
And who puts those people in power usually, unless it's like a takeover, like the Taliban is taking over? But like, for example, you voted for your prime minister. The prime minister before your current prime minister is currently in another country because he was a corrupt individual and he's not willing to live up to his mistakes. But the people of Pakistan voted for that corrupt leader, not just once, not just twice, but several times, and put him back in power, even though he was corrupt. And these are the good people, the good citizens making these choices. Do you think it's possible for good people to step up and actually become leaders? Or do you think that leaders are usually people of a different personality and a different mindset that aren't afraid to be ruthless and do the evil things that some people believe need to happen?
No, being in power does not mean that if somebody is in power is supposed to be a bad person. You know, a government is basically not one person. You know, it's a group of different institutions. If it's a bunch of people who are just part of that system, a president and a prime minister, he's just the show face of the government. You know, whatever has to be announced, it has to be from the tongue of a prime minister, from a president. But he's not the only one to just wake up, make a decision, and go on a television and just announce that I'm going to do this. You know, that would be dictatorship. Democracy means in democracy, a bunch of people are part of the government decisions. If they have like 20 people, you would have 9 people who are good people. You know, but there would be 11 people who are not good people, who see their interest in a different way, and that's how the problems, you know, evolve and the things just don't get settled in a good way.
Would you ever run for leadership? Would you ever want to be involved in politics?
Never. I like the peace of life. You know, I would prefer to do some good. I would definitely try to do some good, and but being in power, no, that's not my thing. I would prefer to just go out and get some people, get a hungry person to sit with me, have a food, that would be good deed for me, and that would be enough, because I found myself capable of that. Because I don't think that I would be ever be willing to make to run for leadership, because I know I cannot make some hard decisions which could cause somebody, which could hurt someone. And in politics, you have to go through that phase. That's a fact.
So I know that you said that you felt like the United States needed to go. They needed to leave Afghanistan. Like you said, we've been there for a long time. Do you think it was possible to have an exit that was not quite so catastrophic?
Well, I really won't be able to comment on that, because I don't know exactly that what was the situation in which they have to be retreated and decisions were made. I really don't find myself in that position to comment on this matter.
So when the world leaders come together and they sit at their tables and they talk, do you believe that they work together on behalf of the entire world? Or do you believe that each nation has its own agenda that it's trying to push through? Do you think that there's any universal?
If I think that what it should be universal. But if I talk about what the facts are, it's always individual. Everybody is, even if it's a UN session, or if the world leaders are together, everybody is there for the personal, and for the national interest agenda. Which should that the reason I said you that I want to discuss something which is beyond borders. When Amber, when sometimes I just used to have a moment with myself, I used to imagine. I try to imagine a world without borders, without countries. That I could get on a bus, I could go to Delhi. I could get on a plane, I could go to New York. I could get on a plane, I could go to whatever, wherever. There shouldn't be the countries, but that's a very, very a dreamy thing that I fantasize. I accept that, but what I think is that the government is not. We should look towards to make decision. To make a change, to bring a change. We have to work on ourselves. Each individual have to work on himself or herself to be a change. What I gain if I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach my daughter that India is a country. Their people are just like us. They're normal people. They live a life. They go to park. They watch movies just like us. So I don't give her a reason to hate her. So that's the change I would be bringing. That's the part I would be playing.
That's one of the things that makes me sad, because I've never been to India or Pakistan, but I have friends in Pakistan and I have friends in India. And it breaks my heart to know that there's that animosity and the hatred that goes between the two countries. It makes me really sad. When I think about why do we have boundaries between countries, I think a lot of it has to do with protecting ideals and also protecting resources. One of the things that you said is Pakistan can't afford to take in all of the Afghans that are trying to get away from Afghanistan. We can't afford to bring all those people in because they're going to use up all of our resources. You didn't say that they're going to use your resources, but that's what would happen, right? Those people become your responsibility, and, I love the idealistic, philosophy that we should be able to become united as people within people. America is a melting pot. We have all sorts of colors and ethnicities, etc. And, the idea was that we could all come together in this great land, and we should be able to be free to celebrate our religion, celebrate the way that we choose to fall in love, all of those things without being persecuted. Have we succeeded at that? Yes and no, Your microphone's off now. Are you leaving?
No, I'm not leaving. I'm just trying to fix the thing. Listening. Go on.
Do you believe in America the way that you did 10 years ago?
Beg your pardon?
I never really asked you about your feelings about America. I know that your wife is in New York and your daughter's in New York. What do you think about America?
America is a land of opportunities. It's a beautiful country.
Is it the land of opportunities because that's our spokes, phrase, like our elevator pitch, or is it the land of opportunity because that's true?
That's true. That's a fact.
What
The government-
opportunities do you think you'd find here that you couldn't find in Pakistan?
Well, that's a difficult question because if I'm not here to take any sides, but U.S., they have better job opportunities. You have a better business opportunities. Your U.S. is a developed country. And
Pakistan
getting
can
from
be developed.
it will be developed, and it definitely would be developed, but it's in a process.
So
But
do you think that development is the key to success then?
it's a fact.
Have you been following our big business and corporations and all of those things versus small
Yeah.
businesses?
I have been.
I don't know what kind of news y'all get about America. I mean, like what do you know about the United States and what the people think?
As U.S. is concerned, it's different from me because my family lives there, and not just my wife and my family. 70. My grandparents are in U.S. My uncles are in U.S. My parents been in U.S. So U.S. is like a second home to me. So I have a very different perception for U.S. if you talk about a person from Pakistan because I have a family living there. I have seen the way the things work there since my childhood. So it's like a second home.
Is all your family in New York area?
Yeah, in New York and in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. That's a hard state to say. Massachusetts. I struggle with that state. I have never been to New York or Massachusetts. I will say that culturally across our country, things vary considerably from place to place and state to state. The thing that I notice a lot these days is there's a lot in my area. There are a lot of jobs available. A lot of people don't want to take those jobs because if they do take the job, it doesn't pay enough to cover the cost of living. So you go to work, you work full time, and you still don't make enough money to pay all your bills. Do you have things like that happen in Pakistan?
That's correct. This thing works everywhere. You have to work to pay the bill. This phenomenon is universal. No matter where you are, it applies everywhere. You have to work to pay the bill. But as it stated that it's we have a strong family system in Pakistan. So basically, like if there are families if somebody's from a wealthy family, he would have a background. He would have a business. He would just take over that. He would have whatever is owned by a father is always transferred to the kids. That's a thing different from the U.S. because it doesn't happen all the time the same. So this is the thing that if your father owns a business, then you have opportunity that you're going to enhance that, whether you choose a different path of life or whether you just join that. So that's a little bit, that's what the slight different. But other than that, everything is same. You have to work to pay the bill. That's a universal thing.
What does Pakistan feel about terrorism? And I say Pakistan when you're just one person, so I should say, what do you think about terrorism? But I'm curious to know, like, your stance, but overall, like, what do you feel when you're talking to your friends and the people around you? What do they think about terrorism?
Pakistan just want to run as far away as possible from this word terrorism. Because Pakistan. No, I just I'm sorry about that. My sister just jumped over. She didn't knew I was in the call.
We've been talking a little bit, so it's I can understand.
Oh, it's over an hour. No, that's fine. I'm sorry about that.
So Pakistan doesn't want to be associated with terrorism on any level.
No, never. Because Pakistan has suffered a lot in the past decade. Pakistan has lost 70,000 lives. You know,
A lot of
Pakistan.
Americans don't realize how many lives have been lost in Pakistan specifically because of terrorism.
Exactly. So Pakistan just want to run as far as possible away from this terrorism word because they have suffered through that. You know, so Pakistan, as I said, that Pakistan is the country which wants peace in Afghanistan more than any other country in the world because whatever happens there is going to affect here, and people have suffered a lot. They want peace. Everybody wants to live a good life. You know, they don't want any more chaos, or so that's the reason that Pakistan just want peace around its borders.
So do you feel on any level that the United States abandoned Afghanistan and put Pakistan in danger by their choice?
Well, as a personal opinion, no, but everybody knew that America has to go back someday. You know, but yeah, it could be done in a different way. But as I told you, that I don't find myself to be on that level, on on that side, that I could comment on the matters because I'm not really aware that how these things are being decided on the top end. So I can just talk. I can just make a comment on what a person as an individual I think about, what my point of interest is. So the only point of interest which I have in all this matter, I just concerned about the people, the daily life, the regular people. Most of all the children, which are going to be affected. I just concerned about that, and I think about that. I try to see that if there any possibility that they could be, I find it so helpless that I couldn't help those poor children who deserve, to be in parks, who deserve to go into school, to come back to their houses. The narcissists they were supposed to be hearing would be laughs or children talking, but they are hearing bombs and guns, and that is just, being a father, and I just cannot imagine what's been going through there. So that's the thing which disturbs me most, and that's the point of interest. That's what I think about people. Most about the children, the 46% of population, the children. They are the one which need help, not the governments. They are doing their fine, but those children, whatever happens, that will shape their future.
What do you think is going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, with the Taliban rule in Afghanistan? Or do you imagine that they're going to spread out and try to grow more territory? Or, do you if taken over, they're now in power. What are they going to do with that power?
Well, it depends. It depends the role of the international community, how they just tackle this matter, how they just make decisions to resolve this matter, because obviously nobody is going to let it happen. Okay, just let it be the way you want. International community is definitely keeping an eye on this matter, but Pakistan is playing its part. So I hope that something good comes out of it, something good that's not evil, something good which is good for the daily life people of Afghanistan, the children of Afghanistan. There should be something which is good for them, not something which is dragging towards the situation right now. If I just talk about right now, if the things go this way, then definitely it's just moving very rapidly towards a civil war.
So if the civil war happened, who would be fighting who? The people, the citizens of Afghanistan that were there in place will start fighting off the Taliban?
In a civil war, it's not like two groups which are fighting. A civil war is just consider that everybody is fighting everyone. There's not, you don't not holding a flag that you're fighting for. Then the things get so unleashed. People get unleashed. Evil just take over everything. So everybody will be going to loot. Everybody is going to in chaos. There's no justification. There are no sides in chaos. It's just panic and chaos. There are no sides. That's the evil thing about civil war. It's a destruction, just destruction.
How would you keep your so you're in Pakistan, which is really, really close. How do you remain safe under those circumstances when all of that chaos is happening right next to you? Because it's going to spill over.
Well, it happens, and the good thing, the Pakistani government have been, taking precautions. Just like Trump said that we need to build a wall. We actually build a wall. It's not a wall. It's just like it's a border fence that
Did
the
you have
government.
Mexico pay for it?
No, we didn't have Afghanistan pay for it. The government paid it by itself.
I was making a joke right there.
I got that. So that's why the government and Mr. Han is just urging that please get to a table, resolve a matter. We don't want any restless across the border. We don't want any civil war. That would be destruction for everybody. It would be affect the most Pakistan because the fire in the next house is going to affect you, but it's going to affect globally.
Do you feel like the people of the United States of America care about what's happening in Pakistan and Afghanistan? Do you feel like our citizens care about what happens to the children and the women and the families over there in those nations?
I believe that, yes. Yeah, I believe that good people, the good thing about good people that they are everywhere. That's the reason that the word is still, this word is still going. The life is being still going. Because the kind of evil we have around, the word would have been lost. So it's the good people are the only reason which are keeping the balance. That's nature, And the good thing is that good people are greater in number than the bad one. But the evil is so evil that sometimes it just take over the good side. But the good, it always prevails.
What do you think that we could do as a collective good group to make the world a better place?
Individually, as I said, that just spread kindness, do good with people around. If you're not reachable, being a regular person, you or me, we are not able to provide food or shelter to the kid in Afghanistan. We can have concern about that. We can pray about that. But what we can do on ourselves, we can just do it the people around us. There are always people who need our help. It's always around us. So that's a good thing we have to do. That's the good thing we can do at our end.
If something happened and the Taliban was trying to infiltrate Pakistan and the fighting had gone in that direction and the Taliban was able to spread out, would you hope that the United States of America would come in to intervene and help the people of Pakistan win against the Taliban? Or would you prefer for the United States to stay out of it?
When there's a conflict between international countries, that does not stay between those two countries. It's a global matter. That's the reason we have, global. It's a global world. It's not that old age era that the two empires have been fighting and the others are resting in their palaces. It's a global world. Whatever happens, if something happens in Africa, it's going to affect person in Asia. If something happens in Asia, it's going to affect a person in Europe. It's a global world, and that's a global responsibility that the world leaders have. That's why they have the UN or such institutions, because any conflict is not a conflict between two countries. It's a world issue. It's a global issue.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. In regards to the globe and the bigger picture, what is your number one concern?
My number one concern regarding the global issues, my concern is that there are people, there are children who are facing emergency level of hunger. You will whatever topics, you will always find me ending up on the topic on regarding children and something, because that's my concern. Children, they are innocent. Whatever happens to them, whatever situations they will grow into, that will lead them to make choices to be in the future. Children are the future.
So why do you think some of those children do not have enough food?
Bad blunders made by the previous generations, unfair treatment of nations, things which is happening right now, things have been happening in the past. So that's the reason.
Have you ever heard the statement that history repeats itself?
Yes, I have. I somehow it's a fact. It happens,
That's
It's a fact.
one of the things I'm loving about having this conversation with you is how idealistic you are and how full of love you clearly are. You're definitely a
Oh,
loving, kind, good people. And
I
one of
appreciate
my
that.
fears is that one of my biggest fears is that the good people will be overrun by evil people. But I'm right there with you when I believe still to this day that there's more good people in the world than evil people. But boy howdy, when those bad people make their decisions and go out and cause catastrophic events that hurt a lot of people, it's hard to recover from that. It really is, especially when people start to become afraid of each other and stop talking to each other. That's what Rehan Alawala, this is how you spell his name, hold on, I'm sure I say his name wrong, but that gentleman, the social entrepreneur I was telling you about, his goal basically is just to get people talking about things, to get people like me and
Mhm.
you to sit down and have conversations so that people will start to respond to each other with love instead of reacting in fear. Do you think that movements like that and conversations like this could help?
Definitely, that's the thing. As you're saying that more evil people could cause more destruction, but see, one person is making a difference. It's one person doing good, and it's just spreading good. And how many people do you think are just getting benefit from that? He's making a difference. He's making a change. That's how things works. That even if the evil people are great in number, then one good person would be able to take over more people than the bad one. So that person is really making a change.
Mohsin, may I ask how old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh, I was 29 once.
He surely was.
Oh, 29. Boy, howdy. At 29, I'd love to be 29 again. You're not even 30. You're still in your 20s.
uh, yeah.
Ah, so what are you doing right now for your career?
I'm an entrepreneur. I have I have different things that I just pull into some business things with my friends. So I'm an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs don't have basic descriptions. They just know how to make a little bit of money to survive. So I'm just doing good. And with that, I used to write. I love to write, kind of a writer, lyricist. And I don't know if it'd be fine to say, but if it's about who I am, then yes, I'm kind of underground rapper.
You
I like
are.
to, yeah. So I make music. I like to.
You like to make music. I love that. So an underground rapper, what's that mean?
That means I'm not really you are going to hear on the public, but if you get into my life, if you get into my YouTube channel, then yes, you're going to find a couple of tracks, all right, that I made.
Will you
That's
send me a link to your YouTube
oh
channel?
yeah, sure, I will. I'll just send you the thing.
And you said you like to write as well.
Yeah, that's great. I like to write. Kind of
So
literature guy.
have you written a book or are you doing a blog? Where do you write at?
Later, I was just writing some poems. Now I write poems for my daughter. So I write raps for my daughter. I will send you a link. You will just go through a rap. I've just made a song. It's called Data Daughter. It's just a song that I made for my daughter. So if you will listen to that, you will get to know that. Okay,
Are you
what type of?
Are you rapping in English or are you rapping in Urdu?
I rap in Urdu, Punjabi, and English, but most of
Okay.
the time in English. Yeah,
That's helpful for me because I don't speak Urdu.
I get that. I get that.
Or the other is you said Punjabi?
Punjabi.
Punjabi. See,
Punjabi is Punjabi is a very interesting language. It's a
Yeah.
very very interesting language. Like if you just try that, ki haal hai tera mundiya? Just try it.
just say that like it's easy.
Ki
Say it
ki haal
slow.
hai?
Say it again.
Ki haal hai
He hale.
tera mundiya? Oh, I got that. It's just like when I see German or when I heard French. That's how it sounds to me. I understand.
Yeah, it goes by really, really, really fast, and it just like.
It's an interesting language.
I've tried to learn other languages. Spanish, Spanish is the closest that I got to actually retaining anything. I did learn how to say a couple of things in Urdu, but I've already forgotten them.
You need to practice. There was a time when I was just kind of pretty interested in Spanish. I learned a few things. I didn't practice it, so it's just all somewhere lost in the memory. Like uno paido hablar español, uno do
Yeah.
tres, the basic things. So it's lost somewhere in the memory. So hopefully, when I'll get someone who can talk it, language is all about practice.
Oh yeah, and repetition, and actually being able to talk to people that speak your language is also helpful.
That's right.
So, Mohsin, how did you find me initially on social media? Like, how did you even hear about me?
You had a podcast with the person Daniel something, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw
a
it.
long time ago.
Yeah, I don't exactly recall that, but I remember that the rubber rooster. I find it very interesting to the rubber rooster. As you said, that's the thing that okay, rubber rooster with a lady with a rubber rooster. What's that? What's the story behind the rooster? She's not a kid, but she's having a rubber rooster everywhere. So that's interesting. And you're a creative person. You're an artist. Your photography. That's a great job you do there. And I remember that when I became a father, so we had to we needed a photography session for my daughter for the baby photography, what you call it. So I thought, okay, I remember, no, she has to travel to New York. I don't know where she lives. She's going to be very costly. So that, all right, maybe later on someday. But you do a great job. You got some skills,
Man, I would have loved the opportunity to work with you. So hopefully we'll get to the point where money isn't an issue for either one of us, because
Sure.
part of the reason I'm great at photography is I really love people. I have genuinely, my heart is filled with love for people. The rubber rooster is my comedy. I also like to laugh. I'm one of those people that I like to make jokes about things that make people sad. Laughter is great medicine. It's, if you can't laugh about hard things, then you're not living right, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of things. It kind of takes the edge off a bit. So I'm really grateful that you talked to me today. I really enjoyed this podcast. How did you feel about it?
I'm not going to exaggerate it, but it was amazing. I really felt good talking, sharing the way you listen, and you're a good listener. And the questions were really good, like really good questions. There was a couple of questions which I have to think that, okay, this is a good question. So it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
So will you promise that you'll keep in touch?
For sure.
Good.
If you ever felt it.
Lots of love to you and your wife and your beautiful daughter. We didn't really get to talk too much about COVID, which is probably not the worst thing, because people are pretty tired of talking about COVID. You mentioned that you haven't been able to go back to New York specifically because of COVID restrictions, etc.
That's right.
One of the topics that I wanted to touch base about is how much COVID shutdowns have affected the economy in Pakistan. Has it been a big problem over there?
Yes, obviously, COVID. Coronavirus, we used to call it corona. It's a disaster of the century,
Yeah.
But Pakistan, the Pakistan has done a great job. I'm not just exaggerating things. Believe it, Pakistan has really done a great job. If I talk about India had like 32.4 million cases, and the death toll was over 435,000. That's a great number. Whereas Pakistan, which is right next to the border, we have like 1.12 million cases, and the death number is 24,783. Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
And that's a lot of people, both sides. But the strategy which the Pakistani government took, that really matters. I've seen a couple of articles where international institutions like WHO, World Health Organization, they have been praising the way the Pakistan handled the pandemic. So Pakistan really did a great job. We had lockdown, but other than that, we had like smart lockdown. That was a new thing, and which was very effective. So with these strategies, Pakistan really, was able to just hold over and take with matter in the hands.
Are there any people over there that do not want the vaccine, or does everybody that want it?
I just mentioned earlier that Pakistani government has made a very very interesting strategy over there. That now whoever, if somebody don't want it, is people are rushing to get vaccinated. What
Yeah.
did they? Yeah, in the first time they made it compulsory for all the government. No, the first wave they just vaccinated all the frontline workers like the doctors, nurses. They got vaccinated. In the second phase, they make it commercial, compulsory for all the government employees to get vaccinated. If a person is not vaccinated, he's not going to get his salary deposited in his account. So that was very successful. And now what they did, they said if you are not going to get vaccinated, your cellular network will be blocked. You will not be able to use your cell phone.
Oh boy.
Everybody, everybody loves to use their cell phone, so people are rushing to get vaccinated, and that's also a success.
So it's kind of like a parent saying, if you don't clean up your room, then I'm going to take away all your toys.
Exactly, and it always works.
It always works. On that note, I'm going to end this podcast for today. I am, again, very thankful that I had the opportunity to talk to you. Sending lots of love to your family. I'm grateful. You can tell I don't know a lot about what's happening as far as the world goes, but I do care. And I'm glad that you think that most Americans care about the world, because we do. When one of the things that's been frustrating with me when I see that there's like the bombings in Syria or terrible things happen, and I'll see people on Facebook say, "How come nobody's doing anything? Do people not care?" It's not that we don't care. It's like you said, a lot of times we've got the big government that handles things, and the everyday people aren't really sure what they have the power to do. I think you can probably relate to that feeling.
That's correct. The nature always balances itself. That's how the universe works. If there are evil, there's good, and that's, as I mentioned, good is always prevails. So that's how nature balances itself. It always gets better. Yes.
I think that's a great place to end this. I'm going to go ahead and hit the little button that's the end of our official broadcast.